TrowelBlazers, how did that even start? There were 4 annoyed people on Twitter, we couldn't believe. We all knew of our personal heroes, sort of women in archaeology, paleontology, geology, who we'd heard of, and they did awesome things. And people just never really talked about it. You knew about these famous people like Petrie would get a documentary on BBC4, but no one ever talks about Hilda Petrie, who raised all the money for all of Petrie's digs. And it's just one of these things, I can't believe people aren't talking about this. So I've got my personal favorite, who's a woman called Hassett. She's basically amazing. She's one of the first, she was the first lot of Muslim women Olympians. She went to Berlin in 1936 on the Turkish fencing team, refused to meet Hitler, and then proceeded to do awesome archaeology for the rest of her career, and then became an environmental activist. And she's amazing. I can't believe people don't know about the sword-fighting archaeologist chick. Why don't people know that? Everyone should know about her. And she has students who are also inspired. The project I work on in Turkey was started by one of her colleagues as well. So there are all these stories out there about people in, amazing hats, doing amazing things. People doing spy work while labeling artifacts. Everyone should know about that, especially the people with awesome hats.
But when you start to realise there were hundreds of women doing this kind of work, and yet it's made hardly any impact on the kind of popular imagination of what was going on in those fields at that time, that starts to annoy me. And so I've really, I suppose, become preoccupied with finding out about these women and trying to explore and highlight the connections between them, the networks between them, and the work that they did, just to kind of bring them to a wider audience. And so, at the moment, my brain has been almost full of this kind of crazy network patterns and trying to link women together because they all work together. So Dorothea Bate worked with Dorothy Garrett and Gertrude Catton-Thompson. All 3 of them worked with a geologist called Eleanor Gardner. Gertrude Catton-Thompson trained a woman called Veronica Seton-Williams. Veronica Seton-Williams worked with about 5 or 6 other women. Agatha Christie was an archaeologist in her later years, and she was all part of that team as well. There was a woman called Kathleen Kenyon, who was she was the acting director of the Institute of Archaeology during the war years, and she led huge digs in Palestine and what is now Israel, and in this area called Jericho. She was really instrumental, and she launched so many other women into other careers, and she was extraordinary. She was a real character. She apparently stalked the halls of the Institute of Archaeology, followed by her braying hounds, with her mink coat and barking at people. And it's just, it's unpicking these things. You realise that there's a whole layer of, of the history of my own field that isn't as prominent as I think it deserves to be. And so I've been working on exploring that, and with 3 other women, we've got together and we're blogging about it and doing things like that. We've called them TrowelBlazers. So, boom. But no, and it's been really fun. And so it's actually, that's the chaos in my mind, and the light as well. And the science almost seems more linear in comparison, although it clearly isn't. But yeah.